AITA for wanting more and losing everything? Throw away for obvious reasons. Okay, Reddit, I need to know. Am I the asshole here? Be honest, rip me apart if I deserve it, because honestly, I'm pretty sure I do. My name is Marie, and for 7 years I was married to Charles. We had a good life, a really good life, on paper at least. A nice house in the suburbs, 2 cars, and our son, Leo, who is truly the light of my life. Charles is a good man, steady, reliable, a great father. We had stability, comfort, and honestly, a generally peaceful existence. But for some reason, for me, it just wasn't enough. I know. I had it all, right? So many people would kill for what I had. But I felt this gnawing boredom. It was the same routine, day in and day out. Get up, get Leo ready for school, go to work, come home, make dinner, watch some TV, go to bed, repeat. I started looking at other people's lives on social media. The lavish vacations, the designer clothes, the exciting careers. I wanted more. I wanted spontaneity, excitement, trips abroad, more money, a different kind of sparkle. Charles was content, and that made me feel even more restless. He didn't seem to have that same hunger for more. Then, Keith entered the picture. He was a new hire at my company, a few years younger than me, incredibly charming, and from a very wealthy family. He exuded this effortless confidence and had a way of making me feel like the most fascinating woman in the room. Our work conversations quickly morphed into long, lingering chats during coffee breaks, then after-work drinks that stretched into hours. He listened to me, truly listened when I talked about my dreams and my dissatisfaction. He made me feel alive again, desirable in a way I hadn't felt in years. Looking back, I can see the signs, the red flags, but at the time, I was just so swept up in the attention and the thrill of it all. Our affair started subtly at first. Stolen glances, accidental touches, hushed phone calls when Charles was asleep. But it escalated quickly. The secrecy was exhilarating, a wild, dangerous game that made my heart pound. I felt like I was finally living, finally experiencing that more I craved. Keith talked about taking me on extravagant trips, buying me beautiful things. It was a fantasy, and I was fully immersed in it. The beginning of the end came when Keith suggested a weekend getaway, a fancy resort a few hours away. He framed it as a work conference to our colleagues, and I, ever the dutiful participant in our charade, went along with it. When I told Charles I was going away for a work event, he was hesitant. He had this look in his eyes, a kind of quiet concern that I now recognize as suspicion. He asked if it was really necessary, if I couldn't just do it remotely. I brushed him off, told him it was important for my career, for networking. I convinced myself I was doing nothing wrong, that it was just a harmless little escape. Oh, the lies I told myself. We arrived at the resort, and it was everything I had imagined. Luxurious, decadent, a world away from my boring life. Keith and I spent the day by the pool, enjoyed a fancy dinner, and then headed back to our room. That night, as we were in the middle of things, my phone rang. It was Charles. In a moment of sheer panic and stupidity, I fumbled with the phone, trying to silence it, trying to decline the call. But instead, I accidentally answered. I didn't even realize it until it was too late. Charles didn't hang up. He just stayed on the line. And he heard everything. Every single horrifying sound. The muffled voices, the heavy breathing, my own distinct moans. He heard it all. The next few weeks were a living nightmare. Charles filed for divorce immediately. He was devastated, absolutely heartbroken, and I don't blame him. I had shattered his trust, our marriage, our family. The divorce proceedings were brutal. He made sure I got almost nothing. And legally, he was within his rights. I lost the house, most of our savings, and worst of all, I lost daily contact with Leo. Now, I only get to see my son on weekends, supervised at first, now just very limited time. His face, when he looks at me, holds a mix of confusion and a sadness that breaks my heart. And the affair? It cost me my job, too. Turns out, sleeping with a colleague, especially when you're caught like that, is a pretty serious violation of company policy. So my exciting career evaporated into thin air. I'm working retail now, barely making ends meet in a tiny, cheap apartment. The fancy trips, the designer clothes, the more I craved, they're a distant memory, replaced by long shifts and the constant ache of regret. So, Reddit, I'm laying it all out there. Was I the asshole for wanting more? For craving excitement when I had a perfectly good, stable life? For throwing it all away for a fling that ended up costing me everything? AITA, update. Y'all are too much, but here I am anyway. Throw away for obvious reasons, still. All right, Reddit. Marie here from the AITA for wanting more and losing everything. Post. Honestly, I debated even writing this update because, wow, the comments on my last post were something else. Y'all really went for the jugular, didn't you? You deserve everything you got. Zero sympathy. Seriously, did anyone even consider that maybe, just maybe, people make mistakes? That life isn't always black and white, and sometimes you just mess up? I laid it all out there, raw and honest, and most of you just piled on with the judgment. Thanks for that. Really helpful. My life now, still a train wreck, no thanks to your wisdom. For those of you who were so keen to know if my life has magically transformed into some blissful paradise of single motherhood and career triumph since my last post. Nope. Still divorced. Still seeing Leo on weekends. Still in the same tiny, overpriced apartment that smells faintly of desperation and ramen. And no, for those wondering, I haven't suddenly found my soulmate in the retail aisle. Shocking, I know, that a woman who spectacularly blew up her life isn't exactly swiping right on eligible bachelors and planning a Pinterest wedding. My dating life is precisely as exciting as my current bank balance. Non-existent. Your wisdom versus my reality. It's funny, reading all your comments about how I deserved it and how I should learn my lesson. Believe me, I've learned. The hard way. I don't need 1,000 strangers on the internet to tell me I screwed up. I live with the consequences every single day. The quiet of my apartment when Leo's not here, the look in his eyes sometimes, the crushing weight of knowing I blew up a perfectly good life because I was bored. That's a lesson far more potent than any of your keyboard warrior sermons. So, yeah, my life is still pretty much where I left it. No grand epiphanies, no sudden financial windfalls, no Prince Charming. Just me, navigating the mess I made. Will I update again? Maybe, maybe not. Depends if anything remotely interesting or devastating happens. Don't hold your breath for a redemption arc, though. Seems like that's not really in the cards for people like me, according to the internet's resident morale compasses. But hey, feel free to keep those insightful comments coming. I'm sure they'll solve all my problems.